Hello students, myself Ushmita. Hope you are doing well. So today we are going to start our chapter 2, part 2 is matter around the sphere. So our first topic is physical and chemical changes. In the previous chapter we have learned about the physical properties of matter. So the properties that can be observed and specified like rigidity, fluidity, density, melting point, boiling point, etc. are the physical properties. And the interconversion of a state is a physical change. Why? Because this change occurs without a change in composition and no change in the chemical nature of a substance. Although ice, water, and water vapor, they are different and they display different physical properties, but chemically they are the same. They are form of water only. So the example that is given in your book is of water and cooking oil. We know that water and cooking oil both are in liquid state, but their chemical properties are different. They differ in order and inflammability. So they differ in various things in density, melting point, boiling point, etc. We know that oil burns in air, whereas water extinguishes fire. So this is a property that makes different from water, that makes different oil from water. So we know that chemical change brings a change in the chemical properties. So that's why we got a new substance. So that's why it is called a chemical change. Is also called a chemical reaction. So this was a physical and chemical change. So now come to our next topic. What are the types of pure substances? So on the basis of the chemical composition, substances can be classified either as elements or compounds. So first to talk about elements. Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, a famous French chemist, was the first to establish an experimental useful definition of an element. He defined element as a basic form of matter that can be broken down into further substance by using a chemical reaction. For example, mercury, sodium, potassium, they are the simpler substance of matter. They can't be broken down to further substance. That's why he has classified this type of metals, non-metals, and metalloids as an element. So element can be classified into three types. First is metals, then non-metals, then metalloids. First talk about metals. We know metals, they're lustrous, they're shiny, they have silver gray or golden yellow color. They are malleable. Malleable means they can be hammered into wires. They are ductile, which can be drawn into wires. And they're sonorous, which they make a ringing sound when hit. So these are the properties of the metals. For example, now what are the examples of metals? Like mercury, sodium, potassium, they are examples of metals. The key point is that mercury is the only metal which is liquid at room temperature. Rest all the metals that we're having, they are the solid at room temperature, but mercury is the only temperature which is liquid at room temperature. And one more key point is that metals, they are also the good conductors of electricity. Now come to the non-metals. What are non-metals? What are the properties? We know that non-metals, they display a variety of colors. They are poor conductor of heat and electricity. They don't conduct any heat and electricity. They are not lustrous also. They are not sonorous, and they are not ductile and not malleable. So these are the properties. Means they are the opposite of the metals that are non-metals. For example, water is the example of metals. It is carbon, oxygen, iodine, bromine, chlorine. These are the examples of a non-metals. The key point is graphite, which is a non-metal, but it is a good conductor of heat and electricity. One more is bromine, which is a non-metal, but it is a liquid at room temperature. Rest non-metals are solid, but bromine is the only non-metal which is liquid at room temperature. These are the, you can say, substantial cases and key points that you have to remember. That some key points are there in metals, non-metals also. But some elements are there that shows the properties of metals as well as non-metals also, which they show the intermediate properties of metals and non-metals. So they classified as metalloids. For example, boron, silicon, germanium, these are the examples of metalloids. So elements classified as metals, non-metals, and metalloids. And you have studied also what were the properties. This were the properties. Now we will talk about the compound. A compound is composed of two or more elements chemically combined with one another in a fixed proportion. For example, H2O, NaCl, they are compounds. They are formed of two or more than two elements. So let's perform an activity. Divide the class into two groups. Give them 5 grams of iron fillings and 3 grams of sulfur powder in a china dish to both the groups. To group 1, ask them to mix and crush iron fillings and sulfur powder. Similarly to group 2, mix and crush iron fillings and sulfur powder. But they should heat the mixture strongly till red hot, then move from the flame and let it cool. Then afterwards, ask both the groups to bring a magnet near the mixture and let them see that if the mixture is attracted towards the magnet or not. then what you have to do that ask them to add carbon disulfide to one part of the mixture and add hydrochloric acid to other part of the mixture of the group. So what observations you will see? You will see that the gas that is obtained by group 1 is hydrogen, which is colorless, odorless but combustible, and the gas that is obtained by group 2 is hydrogen sulfide, which is colorless but with the smell of rotten eggs. So the group 1 is a physical change and the group 2 involve a chemical change. We see that the mixtures that are obtained in group 1 is of iron and sulfur, but the properties that afterwards were the same as that of the constituents, and the mixture that were obtained by group 2 was a compound. So on heating the compound, we get a totally different properties or totally different material as that of the constituents as we compare to that earlier of iron filings and sulfur powder. So this was the physical chemical change of a compound, and if we heat the mixture and the mixture, not only iron filings and sulfur powder, we get totally different substance. If we heat the mixture or the temperature is increased, we put the pressure. So these are some of the factors. So we can change the substance, we can bring a physical and a chemical change. So this was a chapter. Here I have mentioned the difference between the mixture and a compound, which you can read. So this was chapter that we have read about the physical and chemical changes in this part. So till then, stay tuned. Thank you.